Hello and welcome to the third and final installment of VentureFlix. My name is Todd Fetterman and I'm the Managing Director of North Coast Ventures. For those of you not familiar with North Coast, we are based in Cleveland and made up of over 300 individual investors across 6 different funds. The funds include both angel funds and more traditional venture capital funds. We feel our strongest asset is the power of our network, and we rely heavily on our network to help identify, engage, and accelerate high growth opportunities. Tonight, North Coast and KeyBank are pleased to screen the documentary film CodeGirl. It is a powerful documentary that follows groups of high school age girls from around the world as they compete in a global technology program. The movie provides a great lens into both the excitement and challenges around building and launching something new, specifically something new in tech. As excited as we are to screen the film, we are even more excited to welcome the panel, which will come just after the film. Tonight we have 3 all-stars with us: Amy Brady, the CIO of KeyBank; Vasanthi Chandra, who formerly was General Manager at Amazon Web Services; and Mel McGee, the CEO and founder of We Can Code It, an Ohio-based software development bootcamp that has trained thousands of women and people from underrepresented groups to code. I mentioned that this is the third of 3 installments of our film series. And when we laid out the schedule many months ago, we thought the 2 days after the election might be a nice time to sit back, relax, and take in a great movie and panel discussion. This has been a stressful week for most of the country. And at the very least, we hope tonight to give your index finger a break from repeatedly clicking on the refresh button to see the latest vote count. Sounds like no one's going to get any news here, at least until tomorrow. So stay with us and stick around for the panel hereafter. For those of you who are watching that are members of North Coast Ventures, I'll take this opportunity to give you 2 very quick updates. The first is a bit of breaking news in that we are going to hold a special Zoom meeting for Seed Fund 4 next Wednesday at 4 o'clock. The agenda is to hear about and potentially approve a new investment opportunity. So stay tuned for that email invitation tomorrow. The second bit of news is that we scheduled a Zoom next Thursday at 4 to share more information about the new State of Ohio RFP. This is a very attractive program. We will lay it out, talk about the upside, and take any questions you may have. We hope you'll join us for both of those events, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions in the meantime. Before we get started, I would like to thank KeyBank, our sponsor for the entire VentureFlix series. KeyBank is an active partner of North Coast Ventures, as well as many of our investors and startup companies. We're very appreciative of the generous support Key provides to both North Coast and the larger startup community. With that, and without further ado, we will press play on CodeGirl and look forward to seeing the panel back in 90 minutes. All right, well, we are back. I hope everyone enjoyed the screening of CodeGirl. There is a lot to talk about. The notion of inspiring and empowering young people can sometimes seem a little broad and lack personal perspective, but I think hearing from these young women, hearing in their own words how they've come to see problems in their daily lives as something to be solved and something that they can solve is very powerful. Seeing how they work together to make it happen and create something new is also very powerful. So with that context, I am pleased to be joined by these 3 amazing panelists, each a leader in the tech space. I'm excited to have you all with us and begin the conversation. As we kick off the discussion, we'll let each panelist introduce themselves, starting with Amy.
Well, good evening. I don't know about you, but that was humbling, and I'm really glad I'm not in high school because those girls are so brilliant. So I'm glad I'm not there anymore. I'm Amy Brady. I serve as the CIO at KeyBank, and in my day job there, I'm responsible for all of the technology that we deliver for our clients and that we use to run our company. I'm also responsible for all the shared service operations that we use to fulfill all of our services. In addition, I run all the security, so physical security, cybersecurity, which is of course a wonderful topic, fraud, also a very dynamic topic. I have about 5,000 individuals that report to me. I run procurement and a whole host of other things, including contact centers. But of course, for tonight, technology is near and dear to my heart. So we'll talk about that.
Terrific. Let's go to Vasanthi. I think you're on mute, Vasanthi. Vasanthi, I think you're on mute. See if we can unmute you.
Unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Todd, for taking us away from being glued to the election results. Gosh, that's a nail biter, isn't it? Hello, everyone. It's lovely to be here and share the stage with you. My name is Vasanthi Chandra. I'm an engineer by training, but I've moved on to running product lines and businesses along the way. I have held leadership roles at Fortune 500 companies such as Apple and Amazon, as well as I've held roles at innovative startups too. I've also started my own companies and enjoy mentoring startups. In fact, I met Todd while I was a board of director at a company called Ahology. Very, very successful company. I'm also an investor in tech companies, and I'm currently on the board of advisors for a venture fund that you may be aware of that's called Valley Growth Ventures. I love combining disruptive technologies to create simple products that have great human impact, just like all those girls who have shown us the way. Wow, that's very inspiring.
Terrific. And Mel?
Hi, I'm Mel McGee. I'm founder and CEO of We Can Code It. We Can Code It champions social equity through technology. What we do is we train people to become software developers and help them begin their careers in tech. And we have a very special social mission that is inclusion in technology, inclusion and diversity. So that's a very personal thing for me because I was that one girl that was in computer science class amongst all the other boys in the class. So I'm a software developer by trade. I'm a CEO. I'm a founder. I'm a mentor to girls, to other companies, to other women. And I'm glad to be here today. Thank you.
Terrific. Well, we will start the first question with Amy. You gave us some sense of your role, the portfolio you manage, the 5,000 people and groups spanning consumer, commercial, and other. I wonder if you might just give us a sense for what that looks like on a daily basis, leading an organization of that size.
Well, it's never a dull moment, I'd say that. So I love my job. And I think the fun part about what I do for Key is if you think about financial services, I like to say we're a technology company at heart that delivers financial services, right? And we deliver for consumers all the way through to large corporates. So from debit cards to derivatives. So, and the beauty of the technologies that we deliver is we deliver the technologies that are customer facing, that are product enabling, and that are corporate enabling as well. And so the complexities, the problems we get to solve, the engineering challenges that our teams get to work on are terrific. So it's a really cool ecosystem to work in. And we buy, we build, we partner, we innovate. So we get to do it all within this corporate setting. So we get to be entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, I guess, within the corporate setting. It's a very dynamic environment because obviously we're a trusted organization that has to protect all the data and service our clients. Reliable. At the same time, we have to move at the pace that is incredibly dynamic, especially if you think about what we've been through this year. As the market changes, as our clients' expectations change. And so the way the market is moving, the way our clients want to interact with their financial services is changing so dramatically that we too need to change and our technology needs to enable all of that. So it's a fascinating time. I like to think of my job as taking a 200-year-old company and transforming it into a company that is born digital, or at least behaving like we're born digital, and enabling that to happen. So that's what I get to do every day.
Terrific. So Vasanthi, I'm hearing a little echo. No one else is. We'll keep going. But if you are, I'd say mute, and it magically went away. So perfect. Vasanthi, your first job was with Apple, and your most recent position was with Amazon. And those just happen to be the #1 and #3 most valuable companies in the world, 1.8 trillion and 1.5 trillion as of this morning. But you've also founded and worked for several mid-sized companies. How do you view technology just as it applies across a spectrum of different organizations and where we all as people fit in?
Great question. I think you'll find a lot of common threads along the way, whether you're a large company or a small company. Technology can mean so many different things to different people. From my perspective, the term technology is extremely exciting. It has the ability to solve any problems that we as humans may encounter, but it needs to be applied with the right intent. We have to remember, technology is a means to an end. Creating or using technology for the sake of technology is not a good idea unless it solves a real problem and delights the customer. And I've noticed sometimes, even in great technology companies, there are divisions that have created these cool technologies, spent a lot of budgets just for the sake of it. And this is something that I think great leaders try to instill in most of the folks in the company. The customer has to come first. As I said earlier, I love combining technologies to create simple products that have vast human impact. In companies like Apple and Amazon, and even in smaller companies, we don't create technology or apply technologies because it's cool. Many companies have come and gone that had excellent technologies that has been chasing a problem to solve. I've seen some startups die because of this too. Finding a product market fit earlier on is key, whereby the customers can very quickly see the value of the technology is important. Also, we have to remember that companies can create or use complex technologies in the background, in the back end, but when the customer uses it, it needs to be extremely simple. It needs to be extremely intuitive, and it needs to delight the customer.
Excellent. We'll shift to Mel here. The work that you do at We Can Code It is by its very nature personal. What have you learned about the people and the motivations of the individuals that go through your program?
Yeah, it is really interesting to see their stories from start to finish. And I enjoy actually watching our graduates as they go on to successful careers in places like Microsoft or their own ventures in a way. The motivation typically is a combination of things, obviously, that are a point in their lives where they're looking for some kind of change. It might be that they're either dissatisfied in their careers, maybe they are severely underemployed. I've seen that a lot. So we'll have folks who come in and they are they are Uber drivers, and they are challenged. They're like, how did I get here? A lot of them have degrees, 4-year degrees, and just maybe didn't choose the right major. I mean, who knows what they want to be when they start in college? I certainly didn't. So a lot of people who choose the wrong majors will come in looking for some kind of change, something where they can use their skills in software development to create things. We've had people come in from an entrepreneurial standpoint. They want to be able to make the products or be a founder who has technical skills as well, or to understand what's going on behind the scenes in their product. Some of my favorite stories, though, are of folks who are underrepresented in tech and who have really gotten the short end of the stick and are just trying to really show other people, look, here's what I'm made of, here's what I can do, and I'm going to give back and help my family, help myself, and help my community. So some beautiful stories. Yeah.
Great. Then, Amy, one of the themes in CodeGirl was that the people in a given community best know what problems need to be solved. And I saw that KeyBank recently held an internal hackathon where, as I understand it, your team members worked to identify and solve new problems that applied to them. Can you tell us a little bit more about that event and its importance to Key?
A couple hackathons throughout the year, and each one has a different theme, and teams can enter, to your point, around opportunities that they see that look, in corporations, we don't always do things right. We don't always make it easy for our employees. And to Vasanti's point, we don't always make it easy for our clients, and our employees see that. And so we love these opportunities where we give them 2 days where they get to come together as a team and say, how would you improve the client experience? How would you improve the employee experience? How would you fix a certain particular problem? Or how would you improve a security? And so we did recently have one, and oftentimes we have hundreds and hundreds of teammates who will enter the hackathon, and we hold it over 2 days, and then they have to do a prototype, and then it's judged, and we often invite, and in this case, Google and Cisco were our tech partners, and they are the actual judges that come in and pick the winner. And the winner in this case was a team that developed an app for the ATM with a QR code that could be used for disability, for folks with disability, but could also be used so that you could transact without touching, which right now, obviously with COVID, is very relevant. And so it was very timely, and it's obviously something we will put into production. And then those teams get funded so that they can put that work into production. So it really engages that innovation. And to Vasanti's point, it's technology for a purpose, because I totally agree. All too often, there's technology looking for the problem versus real problems that need to be solved, and that energizes your technologists when you actually give them the problem to solve and empower them to go out there and do it. Same thing with tech, if you give them security problems to go solve or any of those. We also do that. We engage schools. At least once a year, we'll go out and do school hackathons, and we'll give them a problem to solve. We love to get young students to try to solve and get their perspective into some of our problems as well, because they bring a totally different point of view, which is often, different and welcomed.
Great. And Vasanthi, we'll pick up with Amy's comment about the schools there, because in the movie, there's a quote that it's really difficult to be what you can't see. And I'm curious if you could speak to that. And also, being in San Francisco, do you feel it's a similar dynamic, or based on the different culture and focus on tech there, is it a little different?
Yeah, so let me address the culture over here, and then I can talk a lot about the school aspect as well. It is slightly different as we are in a region that attracts technical folks, whether it's men or women. I must say we have come a long way. I'm not going to date myself, but when I got out of graduate school, I was one female engineer out of 80 male engineers in a division of 80 male engineers. It made a lot of fun stories. I'm sure, Mel, you and I can share some stories around that. But although we have come a long way, we still have a long way to go. As you all know, only 25% of women are in C-suites. I heard that some of the well-known universities have over 50% students who are female in computer science classes and majors. However, by the time they start, accepting employment and continue their career, that number goes down very, very low. I mean, even in the movie, it talked about 5%, 15%, max is 20%. So culture of a company is key. And so the studies show that women leave technology-related work, not because it's hard, but because of the culture. So I think companies like Amazon, Apple, Salesforce, they've done tremendous work in not only talking about the problem, but talking about solutions, creating a lot of networks for women to learn from each other and see role models, and showing that men and women do work differently, and that diversity actually enhances the strength of the company. You know, it's sum of all that makes a great company. It's not just the individual pieces. So there are companies who are making a lot of inroads. But talking about girls in school, particularly, this is a problem that starts very early. My daughter, who one of a twin, her other twin is a boy, she's in 4th grade, and she came and told me, Mom, you know, so-and-so said math is very hard. And I think so too. And it starts there, you know, and I think there is a stigma that girls usually think math is hard for various reasons. It could be very simple that they happen to have a teacher who didn't really encourage them or inspire them. Because one of my brilliant students that I mentored told me only in high school, the 12th grade in high school, she really enjoyed math. And she said she hated math before that. And it was only because of this amazing teacher who she was lucky enough to have in her last grade. And so there are issues with peer pressures in school. There are also issues with the stigma that's somehow associated with it. And also girls and boys learn differently. So from an educational system, we have to provide the different ways that girls learn. Girls learn more collaboratively. I'm stereotyping, of course, but you know, there are these sort of, instead of collaboration, more than competitive. So more projects, computer science projects. As you saw, these girls were thriving, you know, when they were sort of bonding together as teamwork, and the kind of the inspiration that they were getting, as opposed to sort of competitive individual projects, performance, grades, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that needs to be addressed in school, but it all starts at home way early. We notice that girls usually are told by their parents, you know, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, but nobody talks about you could be a CEO, you could be an entrepreneur, you could be an engineer to a girl. And it is something that needs to change way early on, where we show them kind of a growth mindset, as well as showing role models that it is possible.
Terrific. And then Mel, back to that point of, you know, no one knows better the problems to solve in a community than those people themselves. How have you seen this play out in terms of interest, motivation, and the actual projects coming from graduates of We Can Code It?
Yeah. So just to let everybody know, our boot camp is very similar in approach. It's a few months long. Folks come through the boot camp, and at the end of the boot camp, they are given free rein to come up with their own ideas for projects. And then we work collaboratively on Scrum teams, on Agile teams that are groups that join together to build these projects. And some of the projects have been very inspiring. One of the more interesting early projects was from a woman named Indira. And then Indira would come to our school on bus. And one morning she was at the bus stop and was assaulted. She said, there has to be some way to find out which bus stops here have criminal activity around them. Her final project solved that problem. She used Google Maps, and she put on different points of interest and allowed other members of the community to report these incidents at bus stops. So that you can, in real time, see what was going on at any given bus stop and choose the one that you wanted to go to in order to ride. Now, this is something I would have never come up with. I don't ride the bus. She does. And for members of her community that utilize public transportation, this was a very important problem. And to see her perspective and to allow her perspective gives me, and I think all of us should be a lesson to all of us, how utilizing different perspectives in computer science, in tech, as founders, as entrepreneurs, really does make a lot of sense. I might not see a problem that Indira would see, that you would see, that other colleagues would see. So inviting everyone to the table is a big deal. And that's just one of the many really cool projects our graduates have come up with. Others have included parent-teacher applications to deal with English as a second language and to manage students' progress in school when you're not speaking the same language. Now that came out of our Columbus campus, where a lot of our students are immigrants and have seen this problem themselves. Of course, we have, bar hopping apps, which are, always fun to see around OSU. And we have really interesting, more, socially responsible, maybe applications regarding food banks. And actually down in Columbus, one of our cohorts, they put an application together for a food bank so that people who were customers of this food bank could actually order prior to going to the food bank. And that decreased their wait time from hours to just minutes. So I've seen really amazing applications come out of our program, and a lot of really cool things that help the community that our graduates can see that I might not see. So it's been inspiring.
Okay. And then Amy, on behalf of the investors on the call, I'll ask for your help here. So we are often focused in our hypotheses on secular trends, right, that drive larger needs and wants in a market. Examples could be ongoing digitization, shift to mobile and different form factors, disintermediation in certain markets. Are there any trends you're seeing that you're particularly excited about that catch your attention that we should pay attention to?
Digitization is a big term, right? And I would say that is a big trend, but I think you have to break that down. And I think it's a trend across all industries, which is really interesting. So we see it in financial services, but we also see it across all our client bases, which is also fascinating. So we see it happening to all industries at the same time. And I think it goes back to some things Vasanthi said. It is this ease of customer interaction. It is reducing friction. So what technologies are reducing friction at every point of customer interaction for every industry? So that number one, I think, is the disintermediation. And so what technologies are helping you do that? For us specifically, I would say payments and making the payment flow continues to be really critically important, whether it's P2P payments, how do I make it easier for my daughters who are in their 20-somethings to make payments back and forth to their friends and such, to corporate payments, to corporate to consumer, and businesses, and how do they make business to consumer payments, and how do you make that in a way that is easier and actually in a workflow that makes it sticky and seamless as consumers are buying and selling goods and transacting, as you can see Amazon doing quite effectively, right? But other businesses, insurance companies, et cetera, doing that. When I think about us and digitizing our enterprise, I'm thinking about technologies around automation, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, RPA, OCR, the automation technologies, the spectrum of technologies that will enable us to deliver self-service to our clients that is easy, simple, effective for our clients, but that flows through all the way to make it more efficient and effective for all of our processes. So I talk about making that seamless all the way through the company. And so it's not one technology, it's kind of combining those and solving those problems holistically, right? I think those are the trends. And we've been talking about those things for the past few years. And quite frankly, every consultant has been trying to pitch me on, oh, you can do all these things. The past 7 months, our experience of working remote has really, we've seen these things accelerate. We've seen the automation demands accelerate. We've seen the adoption of these technologies accelerate. I'll give you a really simple example. Digital signatures. That is something that forever, if you think about loan packages, since the dawn of day, people have signed wet signatures on commercial loan packages, right? and our relationship managers will go out and deliver that to clients, and you want to sign the packages. Well, come COVID, everybody's locked down. You can't sign the packages. We do payment protection program from the government, doing thousands and thousands of those loans in a matter of days, and you need to get signatures. They're all digital. All of a sudden, the adoption, both the client adoption and the banker adoption of that technology, we're up over 400% in 7 months of the use of that one piece of technology. Put that into the workflow, and that is changing so many different places. Think about all the places in a bank where you ask for a signature. Yeah. You can just think about all the processes we can re-engineer because of that one little piece of technology. That's a silly example, but you add on the technologies that can make a dramatic difference. Okay. The other thing I would just say, I want to make a really important comment about talent. We cannot underestimate the impact of talent right now and what's going on. Both the panelists have touched upon this. We're doing a big shift internally to about retraining talent, because as I automate, think about the areas that I have in my own shop that are loan servicing as an example, or all the areas that I'm now saying I'm going to digitize those processes. I, like Mel, am trying to take those folks and give them the opportunity to learn how to code, learn how to become automators, learn how to use some of the technology so that they too can grow and grow their careers and have the option to reskill and truly reskill in a way that can be beneficial for their career and beneficial for our company in the long run. And I think we have an obligation to do that, but we also have the opportunity to give our employees that the time to do that training and the time to help be a part of solving those and creating those solutions. So I think there's a lot of that happening right now as people are learning to work differently.
Very good. And then Mel, the high school students that we saw in CodeGirl live in a very different world than I lived in high school. But obviously, not only did smartphones not exist, but when you wanted to call someone, you grabbed a quarter from your center console, you put it in a payphone, and that's how you called someone.
We're old, Todd.
Yeah, it's true. But I wonder, how has the game changed in a world of digital natives with ubiquitous mobile devices and high-speed connectivity that not everyone, but many have access to? Are you finding that evening the playing field, or just the next chapter of the same story?
I think it's a little bit, I'd love to say it even the playing field. I really would. Here's the deal in my perspective. From my perspective, this is about being a consumer versus a creator of technology. Because you and I had TVs, does that mean we're going to make great TV shows or be a great TV producer? Not necessarily. We might just sit around looking at the TV a little bit more, right? Now we have Netflix and Amazon Prime, and we'll binge watch a little bit more, but I'm not going to necessarily create anything fun regarding, I'm not necessarily going to make the next cool show that comes out, unfortunately. And I think we're hopeful that, oh, look at all these kids with access to technology. And I think there are some really cool stories out there. I do, that a kid has, oh, here's a kid and a computer, and then all this great, all these great things happen, and the kid helps everybody in the world, and everyone lives happily ever after. Unfortunately, those stories are few and far between. I think obviously you need access to something before you can do something. So yay, right? Get step one, access. Now, step two is how do we promote creation with technology versus consumerism? How do we utilize technology in a way that makes sense for ourselves to better our lives, as opposed to dumb down maybe our lives a little bit? Not saying that everything's bad about taking a little break here and there, but let's help others. Let's bring up our community. Let's get money into our families, into our community, right? Let's promote happiness and good things for everyone using technology. It's not there yet, but let's take that to the next level, and let's show kids. Let's make sure we're educating them properly in schools, and giving them real cool problems to solve and letting them choose their own problems. So again, it comes back to how good is your teacher? How good is that senior year math teacher? And to spark their creativity and to spark the interest into creating with technology, not just consuming.
Terrific. All right, we'll do a quick lightning round and then one last question here. So any or all wants to take this, just finish the sentence. More young women would get technology. Yeah.
Role models, cool projects.
Okay. And then another free for all. What do you think is the biggest challenge just for the next generation of women in tech, and what can we do to better support them?
I'll start because I have a daughter who just graduated from Vanderbilt in May with an engineering degree. And she went through her process, Vasanti. You just mentioned, I don't know how many years ago you graduated when you were one. She wasn't the only one, but she was still the minority, and it wasn't easy. So I think we have to still encourage. And there were moments where she would call and say, Mom, this is hard. And the guys weren't necessarily encouraging. And so we have to encourage men to be mentors of women and women to be mentors of women and really encourage our women to go after this. And so I just think it takes us all to encourage the women to do it.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. Mentorship is so key, but also helping women accept the fact that they do things differently, and those are also assets for the company. You know, the way you face challenges head on, the way you communicate, the way you multitask, the way you approach a problem, the way you problem solve, all those may be different, but that difference is actually a strength. And just sort of, again, that thing about growth mindset, it's okay to make mistakes, but this is our core strength, and companies actually nowadays value that. I mean, they value this different perspective and different strengths that makes for a better, stronger company.
Terrific. And as a parting shot here, any advice for young women in the field of technology, whether it's battling access, the notion of imposter syndrome, which I think we all feel at some point, right? The self-doubt of, do we really know what we think we should know and what other people suspect we might know? Any thoughts on what young women specifically should take to heart?
I have a funny story. When I entered business school, Harvard Business School, the first ever assembly that was held for the whole school, the president came on and said, "Who here thinks that we admitted you by mistake?" And it turned out pretty much every one of us thought that. And so I think young women need to understand that everyone do have fears and sort of doubts, but we express them differently, and that's everyone faces it. But so that is a normal phenomena of a human being. But being women, we may express it differently than men. And just again, back to the point of accepting the differences and valuing it as a strength, rather than something different and something we need to sort of hide from, is key. And so it goes back to awareness, education, mentoring, support system, networks, things like that.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I also look at the young women who work for me at We Can Code It, and one thing I try to promote is when, speaking up, putting your ideas out there, it takes a lot. I remember how difficult it was for me at that age to really put my voice out there and be seen and heard. And, I don't want to be that person that makes the mistake. Everybody's going to laugh at you, right? So as mentors and as employers or, teachers, I think part of our role is to look for those moments where our the younger people in our companies, our groups are putting themselves out there, taking risks, speaking up, and say, great job. I heard you today. I heard you speak up today, and I heard you ask for what you needed. And I just wanted to say, great job. I think that is a real strength of yours. Keep doing it, regardless of what the topic is. So I think we have to keep an eye out for that as well and support them.
I always tell people, when you're in a room or you're at a table, you're there for a reason, so bring your voice, right? So your voice should be there. Whether your voice is a small voice or a big voice, bring your voice. The other thing I think it's an interesting irony. We live in a world today that whatever we learned 5 years ago that made us successful today is not what we need to be successful 5 years from now. So this thing about we know everything and so that's just going to carry us forever is not going to work anymore. And so we're all kind of equal. We all have to continuously learn. I think the skill we all need to be successful is learning agility. And so if you can demonstrate that, you have to have the humility that you have to continuously learn. And so I think women are better at that than men, quite frankly. And so encourage the women to demonstrate that we can continuously learn and encourage those around us to continuously learn, and they'll be successful.
Terrific. Well, we are working to learn from that ourselves. And although it is early in our current fund, which is our fourth seed fund, it just so happens that 3 of the first 5 companies have female CEOs. I think it's going to be hard for us to keep that trajectory.
Wow,
but
impressed.
I think it's an extraordinary sign of just us having access to great deal flow, being able to build these relationships, being able to work with just these really impressive teams. And it's been a lot of fun to support them. And I think our fund is getting better and smarter for it. Well, this has been a fantastic discussion. I hope everyone at home will just join me in a muted but heartfelt applause for our panelists here tonight. I really appreciate your sharing your perspectives with us. And as we wrap up, I'd just like to thank KeyBank once again. Key has been the sponsor for the full Venture Flick series. We are very appreciative of their support of North Coast, as well as the larger startup community. So thanks to everyone for joining us tonight, and have a good night.